Inducement liquidity. Why is the high? So inducement liquidity, yeah. I want to show you guys how to anticipate it, yeah. How to anticipate inducement liquidity. So for instance, here you have a sell setup. The first thing you want to see is a sweep of the previous high, then a break of structure, yeah. Or let's assume price is bearish. So you know price is bearish and you want to follow price action, the current trend, but you need a swing structure here, and this is now your swing structure, right? That means you now have a swing structure. You have a sweep of this low and a break, and price is obviously bearish, and you know you're looking for only sells. But to look for sells, you need confirmation. You need to see structural liquidity. But in this current swing here, there is no structural liquidity there. That means this high is an inducement liquidity here. And what will happen to it? Remember, price is overall bearish. The moment you can't see any structural liquidity within this swing, within your current swing, you always need to wait for price to take out the inducement liquidity. You wait for price to take out the inducement liquidity, because that high will always go. If you don't have structural liquidity, the high, if you don't have structural liquidity within your swing, the high will always go, and that high is the inducement. Then what happens after inducement? We have expansions, then you have sells, you have the continuations, right? And sometimes when price takes out a high like this, it gives confirmation for sells again, then you now sell, then price expands. So you want to be very, very careful. You want to be sure that on this trade you are taking, you want to be very, very sure that there is structural liquidity within that swing, right? Be it a bearish or bullish movement. Ensure either you see a sweep of the previous high or not. Some trader, this is church, and they believe price has already changed character like this, yeah. However, in the real world, it doesn't work all the time. This is why we have structural liquidity. It gives more confidence. It makes it that okay, this is a very good zone to actually trade off from. So this is something you want to focus on. You have this sweep, this break. You don't just get you don't just sell from any POI there, thinking this high will be protected. If there is no structural liquidity, this is an inducement liquidity. That what will happen? Price will take it out, and boom. And a lot of people don't actually know this. A lot of traders don't know this, yeah. And then that is where your hedge comes in. If you want to have it in your plan that okay, if I do not see structural liquidity, there is no trade for me. Automatically in your head, that high will be taken out, that high or low will be taken out, right? It's like you don't need to, even if it doesn't happen, but for you to avoid unnecessary losses here, you want to just keep that at the back of your mind, that even if you have a sweep of this low and a break, this low is not protected until there is structural liquidity. If not, this will happen. This is an inducement liquidity, and price will take it out and expand. This happens all the time. Now, let's move on to structural liquidity. How the do's and don'ts of structural liquidity. Basically, structural liquidity. I hope you guys understand inducement, yeah? Structural liquidity. Structural liquidity. So the do's and don'ts of structural liquidity. But one thing about structural liquidity is this. Your structural liquidity must be close. It must be close to where the money is. And when I say where the money is, this is pretty much it. You have a sweep of this low, then you have a break of structure. You see, from this break to the low, this is where the money is. Whatever happens here is liquidity. And that being said, your structural liquidity must be very close to where this money is, right? Your structural liquidity must be either be at the 50%, or below it. Please take note of this. Your structural liquidity must either be at the 50% of where the money is or below it. You want to keep that at the back of your mind. It's very, very important. Your structural liquidity cannot be here. Then you assume that price, that is your PO high here, will hold. Don't make that mistake. Your structural liquidity cannot be here, and you expect this zone here. It is too far away. It is too far away because price goes to the closest POI to the liquidity. And you don't want to engage in the market if price will not come to this zone, right? You don't want to engage, yeah? So your structural liquidity must either be on top of this 50% or below it. I hope you actually got that now. It is very, very, very important. And that is number one. That is number one. Number two. Number two, your structural liquidity must be A-shaped or V-shaped. Yeah? This is A-shaped and this is V-shaped. Like, it must be obvious. It must be obvious. Let me explain. A-shaped type of structural liquidity A-shaped. Sorry, V-shaped rather. Sorry, please, a few minutes. Sorry, please. Oh, damn, that video actually. All right. So for V-shape there, this is a V-shaped kind of liquidity. You can see this is obvious. Liquidity, structural liquidity is V, right? That's V-shaped. It has high potential of actually playing out. So this is your structural liquidity, and what happens? Price comes out to take it out, and then boom, it has high potential, right? Same thing here as well. Sweep, break, protected, structural liquidity, and it is A-shaped. Can you see that? It is obvious. Now, compared to having just a candle or two candles, let me give you guys a chart example for that. Compared to having just two candles and then you consider it your A-shaped liquidity or V-shaped, no, that is very, very wrong. Let me show you guys. I think the same thing happened on AUD USD last week. A lot of people took losses. I think it's AUD USD. All right, cool. So on AUD USD, look at what we have here. We have a sweep of this eye, a break of structure. This kind of liquidity here, would you say this is A-shaped? Is it obvious? No. So just a couple of candles here, a couple of candles, and when I say A-shaped on the chart, this is typically what I mean. Let's give you guys examples as well. You can see what eventually happened here. So a lot of people that consider this their structural liquidity, you can see how price took out the inducement liquidity instead, sort of, right? A lot of people actually took loss on this trade because they consider this their structural liquidity, and it's not A-shaped. It's not obvious. This A-shaped it's not A-shaped liquidity. It's just a couple of candles, like bunch of candles, right? Compared to having this A-shaped kind of liquidity here, compared to having this V-shaped liquidity. Big difference, yeah? Come in, I'm going to show you guys more examples. I think we had a trade, an entry on AU and from the 4-hour time frame. Now compared to having this liquidity as well, you can see this is very obvious. V-shaped, yeah? It is very obvious, very, very obvious. V. This is also V-shaped liquidity, and we had our entry below here. Entry below here, below the V-shaped liquidity. This is A-shaped, yeah? Obvious. This on this particular sell I took, yeah, you can see how obvious this liquidity is, this structural liquidity is, right? We had this sweep, we had this break. You can see how obvious this structural liquidity is, right? And that is A-shaped liquidity, right? And remember what I said about, and you guys remember I took this sell. I think I shared it in the group as well. This is your sweep. This is your break of structure from break of structure to here. You can see it's actually directly on top of the 50%, right? And that's my structural liquidity. And you can see it is obviously a V-shaped, A-shaped kind of liquidity, yeah? A-shaped liquidity. And you can see what price did. Boom, and price sold off from there. Skip the previous high, break structure, creates an A-shaped liquidity. Boom, price take it out, and this is a lifetime chart, live chart, yeah. And we call this trade live as well. So you can see this is what I'm talking about. The same thing here as well. This is A-shaped. It's an A-shaped liquidity here. This is A-shaped. You can see what price did here. The same thing again. Sweep, took out the A-shaped liquidity and sold off. The same thing here. The same pattern again. Over and over. Over and over. Now let me show you inducement. Inducement here. So a lot of traders will tell you that price is now bullish. Let me show you why they will tell you this bullish. In a situation like this, let's go to the 1-hour time frame. Sorry, this is quite slow. All right. So a lot of traders would see this as a bullish structure already because there is a sweep. Now this goes back to inducement here. There was a sweep and there was a break. Now, you guys, we would all agree that this is a swing structure, yeah? This is actually, you know, a sweep of the previous low, then a break of structure, yeah. We would all agree this is a swing structure and this low is expected to be protected, yeah? But look at this kind of swing now. Can you see structural liquidity? Obviously no. So what are you anticipating? That this low gets taken out because this is your inducement liquidity, right? That this low gets taken out. But a lot of traders will say no, this is choach, and then they want to press as change character, BMS, just stressing themselves with a lot of names, and then they would, have either probably mark out the order block, and they want to just place their buy tool here. But you that understand inducement, how inducement works, you tell yourself that no, this is not going to happen. That price will what? Take out this low. If it doesn't create structural liquidity, that price will take out this low before it eventually expands. And let's look at what eventually happened. Now you already created the anticipatory skill. You already anticipated this. You already anticipated what is going to happen now. Well, let's see. Compared to every other person, you see, they're probably in trade, already. I'm probably happy that okay, they're in a good trade. Let's see what happens. A lot of them probably, they'll be happy that I in the trade. While you're actually anticipating it because you cannot see structural liquidity. Let's see. Let's look at the result. Anyway, let me just cut the whole stuff. Can you see that? Sweet SL. And what happens afterwards? Price rejects and expands. Price expands. So let me just cut the whole price back. So while you've anticipated that and avoided that loss, they took the trade. And you see what happens immediately. The buys, the massive buys, right? They had a correct bias. Their bias is correct. They wanted to take a buy, but they're buying at the wrong zone. Do you understand it now? They were actually buying at the wrong time because of liquidity here. So now you that understand that, you will have been able to, avoid that loss, right? Avoid the loss, even if you don't get your entry immediately, but at least you've avoided the loss, right? So you see that? You can see what eventually happened. Price now expanded, boom, and we had the buys. Can you see that? So that is the purpose of inducement, understanding inducement, liquidity, and splitting it before it even happens. And then your structural liquidity as well, trying to understand where and how it is valid. You can't have your structural liquidity here. Can you see what I'm talking about? Can you see that from this break to this zone? Can you see that this guy is very far away? So some of you would actually mark out this low now and consider it is your last low before this zone. Can you see it doesn't actually work like that? Can you see it? This cannot be a structural liquidity. It is too far away from this zone. It is either on the 50% or below it. If it's not there, then you don't have structural liquidity yet. So that will be all for tonight. The next part, I will also, we'll to talk a lot more about liquidity before we move on to POIs. From POIs, then we do top-down analysis, and then that will be all. Then we'll move into the liking and all that. So that'll be all for tonight. I hope you guys learned something, and then stop making mistakes, silly mistakes that you'll be making there.